A billionaire walks into a children's hospital and sees something impossible. A little girl she's never met before, playing with toys, smiling, innocent, and on her face the exact same birthmark the billionaire has had her entire life. Same shape, same size, same location. Medical odds? 1 in 100 million. But here's what makes this story insane. That little girl's mother took one look at the billionaire, turned white as a ghost, grabbed her daughter, and ran. Why? Because she knew a secret. A secret that had been buried for 35 years. A secret that, once revealed, would destroy a family, shatter an identity, and prove that sometimes the people closest to you are the biggest liars. But before we continue, kindly hit the subscribe button and tell us where you are watching from. 72 hours before that moment in the hospital, Emma Martinez woke up in her San Francisco penthouse like she did every morning, alone. Emma was 35 years old and worth $2.3 billion. Self-made. Started her tech company in a college dorm room and turned it into a Fortune 500 empire. Forbes called her a genius. Tech magazines put her face on their covers. She had 3 homes, a private jet, and more money than most people see in 100 lifetimes. But success came with a price. No husband, no kids, no close friends, just business partners and employees who smiled at her because she signed their paychecks. Her penthouse was massive. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, marble counters, designer furniture. But it felt like a museum. Beautiful, empty, cold. That morning, Emma sat at her dining table with a cup of coffee, scrolling through work emails. The table had 8 chairs. She was the only one sitting in them. No family photos on the walls, no personal messages on her phone, just her coffee, and the silence. She touched her left cheek. The birthmark. A port wine stain. She'd had it since birth. Reddish purple, about the size of a quarter, right on her left cheek. As a kid, other children stared. Some pointed. Some laughed. She used to hide it with her hair, cover it with makeup, hate looking in mirrors. But as an adult, Emma learned to own it. It made her recognizable, memorable. In business meetings, people never forgot her face. It became part of her brand, her armor. Doctors told her it was rare. 1 in 10,000 people had a port wine birthmark. In 35 years of living, traveling the world, meeting thousands of people, Emma had never seen another person with one. She thought she was one of a kind. She was wrong. That evening, Emma's black Mercedes pulled up to St. Catherine's Children's Hospital. Red carpet, photographers, camera flashes, everywhere. It was the annual charity gala, and Emma was the star of the night. $5 million. That's what she donated every year. She didn't do it for publicity. Well, not entirely. She did it because she believed in it. Kids deserved better. Kids deserved opportunities. That's what she told herself anyway. She stepped onto the stage in a navy designer gown, the ballroom packed with San Francisco's wealthiest elite. Crystal chandeliers hung overhead. Champagne flowed. Everyone was smiling, networking, pretending to care. Emma gripped the microphone and delivered her speech. Every child deserves a chance at a better future, no matter where they come from, no matter who their parents are. That's why we're here tonight, to give them hope. The audience erupted in applause. Emma smiled, waved, and walked off stage. She had no idea that in less than an hour, those words, no matter who their parents are, would feel like a cruel joke. After her speech, Emma needed to leave. Fast. Too many fake smiles, too much small talk, too many people asking her for money or advice or connections. She was exhausted. She decided to take a shortcut to the parking garage. Instead of going back through the crowded ballroom, she cut through the pediatric wing. It was after visiting hours. The hallways were quiet. Lights dimmed. Most of the kids were asleep. Her heels clicked against the linoleum floor. Left, right, left, Right. She just wanted to get to her car, go home, pour a glass of wine, and forget this night ever happened. Then she passed the waiting room, and everything stopped. At first, she didn't know why she stopped walking. Some instinct, some pull. Something made her turn her head and look through the doorway. A little girl sat on the floor, maybe 7 years old, brown hair in pigtails, pink dress with white flowers, playing with colourful blocks, building a tower, completely lost in her own little world. Emma almost kept walking, but then the girl looked up, and Emma saw it. A birthmark, left cheek, port wine stain, same size, same shape, same exact location as the one Emma had been staring at in mirrors her entire life. Identical. Emma's breath caught in her throat. Her hand instinctively touched her own birthmark. Her heart started pounding. This wasn't possible. She'd lived 35 years and never, not once, met another person with this mark. The medical odds of two people having the exact same birthmark in the exact same location? Doctors would say 1 in 100 million, maybe worse. But there she was, this little girl, a stranger, with Emma's face, Emma's mark. The girl looked up at Emma and smiled, innocent, sweet, unaware that she'd just turned Emma's entire world upside down. Then a woman appeared, mid-40s, jeans and a faded sweater, tired eyes. She came around the corner carrying a coffee cup, probably from the vending machine. She looked like she'd been at the hospital for hours, maybe days. But the moment, the exact second, her eyes landed on Emma, her face went white. The coffee cup slipped from her hand and hit the floor. Brown liquid splashed everywhere. The little girl jumped, startled. The woman's eyes locked. Onto Emma's birthmark. Not just looking at it, staring. Like she'd seen a ghost. Like Emma was something impossible. Something that shouldn't exist. Her hands started shaking. Emma took a step forward. "Excuse me, I'm sorry, I don't mean to intrude, but your daughter. That mark on her face." The woman's reaction was immediate and terrifying. She grabbed the little girl's hand and yanked her up from the floor. The girl dropped her blocks, confused and scared. "Mommy, what's wrong?" the girl asked her mother. "We need to go," the woman said, her voice tight and panicked. "Wait," Emma said, moving closer. "Please, I just need to know." "I said we need to go." The woman turned and rushed toward the exit, practically dragging the confused child behind her. Other people in the waiting room looked up, alarmed. But Emma couldn't let this go. Every instinct in her body screamed that this mattered, that this meant something. She followed them. "Please, just 1 minute, just one. Tell me who you are." At the end of the corridor, right before the exit doors, the woman stopped. She stood there for a moment, her back to Emma, shoulders shaking. Then she turned around slowly. Tears were already streaming down her face. The little girl clutched her mother's leg, frightened and confused by what was happening. The two women stood there, 10 feet apart, staring at each other. The air was so thick with tension you could cut it with a knife. Emma's voice came out as a whisper. "Who are you?" The woman closed her eyes. More tears fell. And when she opened her mouth, the words that came out would shatter everything Emma thought she knew about her life. The woman's voice came out barely above a whisper, but each word hit Emma like a bullet. "My name is Sarah Chen, and I'm your aunt." Emma's world tilted. The hospital corridor seemed to spin around her. Aunt? She didn't have an aunt. Her father was an only child. Her mother had one sister who died in a car accident before Emma was born. At least, that's what they'd told her. "That's impossible," Emma said, shaking her head. "I don't have an aunt. My parents—" "Your parents lied to you," Sarah interrupted, her voice cracking. "About everything." The little girl tugged on Sarah's sleeve. "Mommy, I'm scared." Sarah knelt down, wiping her tears quickly, forcing a smile. "It's okay, sweetie. Go sit over there for a minute, okay? Mommy needs to talk to this lady." She pointed to a row of chairs across the hallway. The girl hesitated, then walked over and sat down, swinging her legs nervously, watching them with wide eyes. Sarah stood back up and turned to Emma. "We can't talk here. Too many people. The parking garage, level 3. Give me 5 minutes to get Lily settled with a nurse, then meet me there." "Wait, I don't understand," Emma said, confused. 5 minutes, Emma. "Please, I've waited 35 years for this. 5 more minutes won't kill me," Sarah said. And with that, Sarah took Lily's hand and disappeared down the corridor. Emma stood there in shock, her mind racing. This woman, this stranger, knew her name, called herself her aunt, said her parents lied about everything. What the hell was happening? She pulled out her phone and almost called her mother. Almost. But something stopped her. Some instinct told her to wait, to hear what Sarah had to say first. 5 minutes felt like 5 hours. Finally, Emma walked to the parking garage. Level 3. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The air smelled like oil and concrete. Only a few cars remained. Most of the gala guests were still inside. Sarah was standing next to an old Honda Civic. No designer clothes, no expensive jewelry, nothing like the world Emma lived in. She looked exhausted, like she'd been carrying something heavy for too long. Emma approached slowly, her heels echoing in the empty garage. "Start talking," Emma said, her voice harder than she intended. "Who are you, really? And why would you say something like that to me?" Sarah reached into her purse and pulled out a photograph. Old, faded. The edges were worn like it had been held 1,000 times. She handed it to Emma. Emma looked down at the photo, and her breath stopped. It was a young woman, maybe 20 years old. Long black hair, beautiful smile, and on her left cheek, a port wine birthmark. Identical to Emma's. Identical to little Lily's. "That's my sister," Sarah said quietly. "Your mother. Your real mother." Her name was Catherine. Emma's hands started shaking. "No. No. My mother is Margaret Martinez. I've known her my whole life." "Margaret Martinez raised you," Sarah said, "but she didn't give birth to you. Catherine did. My sister, 35 years ago." The photograph trembled in Emma's hands. The woman in the picture looked young, happy, alive. And that birthmark, God, that birthmark. It was like looking in a mirror. "Where is she?" Emma whispered. "Where is Catherine?" Sarah's face crumpled. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. "She's dead, Emma. She died the day you were born." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Emma felt her knees go weak. She reached out and steadied herself against a concrete pillar. What are you talking about? How did she die?" Sarah wiped her eyes and took a shaky breath. Catherine was 19, pregnant, the father. He wasn't in the picture, just gone. And our family was deeply religious, very strict. When they found out she was pregnant, they disowned her, kicked her out. Emma's stomach twisted. "She had nowhere to go," Sarah continued, her voice breaking. "No money, no support. I was only 15, Emma. I couldn't help her. I tried, but I was just a kid." Sarah's hands were shaking now. "Catherine went into labour in a motel room on Highway 101 alone. By the time someone called 911, by the time I got to the hospital, she was bleeding out, severe hemorrhaging. The doctors tried everything, but she was already too far gone." Emma's vision blurred. Tears streamed down her face. "And me? What happened to me?" "You were healthy," Sarah said. "Perfect. Catherine held you for maybe 10 minutes before she died. And in those 10 minutes she made me promise something." Sarah stepped closer. "She made me promise to give you a better life than we ever had. To find you a family who could give you everything. Love. Stability. Opportunities. Everything she couldn't give you." Emma's voice came out as a whisper. "And Margaret and Richard. I found them through a lawyer, Sarah said. They were wealthy, successful, desperate for a child. They'd tried for years to get pregnant, spent hundreds of thousands on fertility treatments. Nothing worked. Sarah paused. They agreed to adopt you. But there was one condition. I had to sign legal documents. I could never contact you. Ever. If I tried, their lawyers would make sure I disappeared. Completely. I was 15 years old and terrified. So I signed away any right to be in your life. The parking garage was silent, except for the hum of the fluorescent lights. Emma stood there, the photograph of Catherine still in her trembling hands. You just gave me away? Emma's voice was hollow. Empty. I gave you a chance, Sarah's voice cracked. A chance at the life Catherine wanted for you. Do you think I wanted to? Do you think it didn't destroy me? Sarah pulled out her phone, opened her photo gallery, handed it to Emma. I never vanished, Emma. I've been there your whole life. You just didn't know it. Emma looked at the screen. Her eyes widened. Photos. Dozens of them. Her college graduation. Sarah circled in red in the crowd. Her first business award. Sarah in the back row. Magazine covers saved. Newspaper clippings. Every major moment of Emma's life documented. You were at my graduation, Emma whispered. Front row of the balcony, Sarah said. You wore a blue dress under your gown. My first award ceremony, Emma whispered, tears rolling down her cheeks. Third table from the stage. I clapped so hard my hands hurt, Sarah said. Emma scrolled through the photos, her hands shaking. Every achievement, every success. Sarah was there, in the shadows, watching, hidden. Why didn't you ever say anything? Emma asked, tears streaming down her face. Why didn't you ever try to contact me? Sarah's voice broke completely. Because I loved you enough to keep my promise, even if it destroyed me, every single day for 35 years. Emma looked up at her. Then why now? Why risk everything to tell me this? Sarah looked toward the hospital entrance. Because when I saw you walk past us in that hallway, when I saw your face, that birthmark, 35 years of silence just shattered. I couldn't keep pretending you didn't exist. Not anymore. Sarah's voice broke completely. And when Lily asked me why that lady looked like her, why she had the same mark, I realized I couldn't lie to my daughter the way I'd been lying to you. I couldn't let another generation grow up without knowing where they came from. Emma's breath caught. You deserve to know the truth, Emma. You always did. And I'm so sorry it took me 35 years to find the courage to tell you. The weight of everything crashed down on Emma. Her entire identity, everything she thought she knew about herself, her parents, her life, all of it was built on a lie. I need to talk to them, Emma said, her voice cold and distant. Richard and Margaret. I need to hear them say it. Sarah nodded slowly. I understand. Emma pulled out her phone. Her finger hovered over her mother's contact, but she didn't call. Instead, she looked at Sarah. Did she say anything before she died? Anything about me? Sarah's eyes filled with fresh tears. She said you were beautiful, that you had her eyes. And she made me promise one more thing. What? That I'd tell you she loved you, even though she'd never get to meet you. She loved you more than anything in the world. Emma broke. 35 years of walls came crashing down. She sobbed. Deep, wrenching sobs that echoed through the empty parking garage. Sarah stepped forward and wrapped her arms around her. And for the first time in her life, Emma was held by someone who shared her blood. Someone who had loved her from the shadows for 35 years. Someone who was finally able to tell her the truth. Emma sat in her car for 20 minutes before she could move. Her hands gripped the steering wheel so tight her knuckles turned white. The photograph of Catherine lay on the passenger seat. That young, scared face, that birthmark, her mother, her real mother, dead at 19 in a motel room while Emma grew up in mansions. The rage built slowly, like a fire starting deep in her chest and spreading through her entire body. 35 years of lies. Every birthday, every holiday, every time she asked about family history, every time she felt different, like something was missing. They knew. They knew the whole time. Emma started the engine and drove. Not home. Not to her penthouse. She drove to Palo Alto, to the sprawling estate where she grew up, the mansion with the iron gates and the fountain in the circular driveway. The house built on secrets. It was nearly 9 o'clock when she arrived. The lights were on in the living room. Through the massive windows she could see them. Richard and Margaret Martinez. Her parents. Or the people she'd called her parents for 35 years. Richard was reading a book. Margaret was doing needlepoint. A perfect tableau of wealthy retirement. Comfortable. Content. Liars. Emma didn't knock. She had a key. She'd always had a key. She walked straight through the front door, through the marble foyer, and into the living room. Margaret looked up first. Her face lit up with surprise and pleasure. "Emma, darling, what a wonderful surprise. We weren't expecting—" "Is it true?" Emma's voice cut through the room like a knife. "All of it?" The smile dropped from Margaret's face. Richard set his book down slowly, his eyes narrowing. "Emma, what are you talking about?" he said carefully. "Don't." Emma's voice shook. "Don't you dare play dumb with me. Catherine Sarah Chen, the adoption, is it true?" The colour drained from Margaret's face. She stood up, her needlepoint falling to the floor. "Emma, sweetheart, we can explain—" "Explain?" Emma's voice exploded through the room. "You've had 35 years to explain. 35 years!" Richard stood up now, his posture defensive. Always the lawyer, always calculating. "Emma, I need you to calm down." "Calm down? You want me to calm down?" Emma laughed, but there was no humour in it. Only pain. "I just found out my entire life is a lie, and you want me to calm down." She pulled out the photograph of Catherine and threw it on the coffee table. "Who is she? Tell me. Say it out loud." Margaret picked up the photo with trembling hands. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. "Emma, please!" "Say it!" Emma yelled. "She's your birth mother," Margaret whispered, her voice breaking. "Catherine Chen. She died during childbirth. We adopted you when you were 3 days old." The admission hung in the air. Emma felt something crack inside her chest. Hearing it out loud made it real, undeniable. "Why?" Emma's voice came out quieter now, more dangerous. "Why didn't you ever tell me?" Richard stepped forward. "Because we love you. We wanted to protect you." "Protect me? From what? From knowing where I came from? From knowing my own history? From knowing you were abandoned." Richard's voice rose. "From knowing your birth mother died in a motel room with no money, no future, nothing. We saved you from that life, Emma." "You didn't save me from anything," Emma shouted back. "You erased her. You erased Catherine like she never existed, like she didn't matter." Margaret was sobbing now. "We did matter, Emma. You mattered. You just wanted you to feel like you were ours. Completely ours." "I am not a possession," Emma's voice cracked. "I'm a person with a right to know where she came from." She turned to Margaret, her voice dropping to something cold and devastating. "Every time I looked in the mirror and felt different, every time I felt like something was missing, like I didn't quite fit, that was you, your lie, living inside me." Margaret reached out. "Emma, please." Emma stepped back, putting space between them. "How many times did I ask about my medical history? How many doctor's appointments where you lied to their faces? How many times did I ask if there was anyone else in the family with this birthmark?" Margaret's hand went to her mouth, more sobs escaping. "We thought it was better," Richard started. "Better for who?" Emma cut him off. "Better for you, so you could pretend I was really yours, so you didn't have to deal with the messy reality of adoption. My aunt has been watching me from the shadows for 35 years, showing up at my graduations, my awards ceremonies, major moments of my life, watching, loving me from a distance because you threatened her, because you made her sign away any right to know me." She walked toward the door, then stopped, turned back. I have one question. Just one. And I want the truth. Richard and Margaret stood there, Margaret still crying, Richard's face hard and unreadable. If I had never met Sarah, Emma said slowly, if I had never seen that little girl, if I had never found out on my own, would you have ever told me? Then there was silence. Long, horrible silence. Margaret looked at Richard. Richard looked at the floor, and Emma had her answer. That's what I thought. She walked to the door. Emma, wait! Margaret called out desperately. Emma stopped, but didn't turn around. I need time, she said, her voice hollow. I need time to figure out who I am. Because I just realized I have no idea. The person I thought I was? She doesn't exist. She never did. Emma, please don't leave like this, Margaret cried. You should have thought about that 35 years ago. Emma walked out. She got in her car, started the engine. And as she pulled away from the mansion, she saw Margaret in the doorway, collapsed against the frame, sobbing. Richard standing behind her, frozen. Emma didn't look back. She drove into the night, the photograph of Catherine on the passenger seat, a stranger who was her mother, a ghost who gave her life, a woman she would never know. And for the first time in 35 years, Emma let herself grieve for everything she'd lost before she even knew it was gone. Emma didn't go home that night. She drove aimlessly through San Francisco until dawn, the city lights blurring through her tears. By the time the sun rose over the bay, she'd made a decision. She texted Sarah, "Can we meet, just you and me?" The prompt response came immediately. Yes. Anywhere. Any time. They met at a small cafe in Chinatown 2 days later. Sarah was already there when Emma arrived, sitting at a corner table, nervously stirring a cup of tea she clearly hadn't touched. When their eyes met, Sarah stood up. For a moment they just stared at each other. Then Emma saw it, really saw it. The same cheekbones, the same eye shape, the same slight gap between the front teeth when Sarah gave a tentative, uncertain smile. Family. Hi, Sarah said softly. Hi, Emma replied. They sat down. The silence stretched between them, heavy with 35 years of missed moments. Sarah spoke first. I don't know where to start. Start with her, Emma said quietly. Start with Catherine. Tell me about my mother. Sarah's eyes filled with tears, but she smiled. She was sunshine. That's what our parents always said. Even when things were hard, Catherine found reasons to laugh. She loved art. She was always drawing, always creating. She dreamed of going to art school in New York. Emma touched the birthmark on her wrist, unconsciously. She got that from our grandmother, Sarah said, noticing. Our po-po. It skipped me, but Catherine had it. And now you. And Lily. What happened? Emma asked. The truth. All of it. Sarah took a deep breath and told her everything. Catherine, at 18, in love with a boy from her high school. David Chen. Not related, just the same last name. He was going to UC Berkeley. They had plans. Dreams. Then Catherine got pregnant, and David panicked. His parents were strict, traditional. They sent him to college early, cut off all contact. Catherine tried to hide it from their parents, but by 5 months she couldn't anymore. Their father exploded, called her shameful, dishonorable, told her to leave and never come back. I begged them, Sarah whispered, tears streaming down her face. I begged them to let her stay, but they wouldn't listen. So I helped her leave. I gave her all the money I had. I found her that motel. I visited her every week. She paused, her voice breaking. I was with her when you were born, in that motel room. She was so scared, Emma. But when she held you, even for those few minutes before the ambulance came, she smiled. She said you were beautiful. She said she was sorry she couldn't give you more. Emma's tears fell silently. The complications happened so fast, Sarah continued. By the time they got her to the hospital, she was bleeding too much. She died 3 hours after you were born. Her last words were about you. She asked me to make sure you were okay, to make sure you knew she loved you. But you couldn't, Emma said softly. Because of the adoption. Sarah nodded, her face crumpling. The Martinez's lawyers were ruthless. They made it clear. Sign the agreement or they'd make sure I never even knew where you ended up. At least this way I could watch from a distance. I could see you grow up, see you become this incredible woman. Emma reached across the table and took Sarah's hand. I'm so angry, Emma said, at them, at the situation, at how unfair all of this is, but not at you, not anymore. Sarah squeezed her hand, sobbing. Can I? Emma hesitated. Can I meet her? Lily? Sarah's face lit up through the tears. She's been asking about you every day since the hospital. They met at Sarah's apartment in the Mission District. It was small, cozy, filled with photographs and children's drawings on the refrigerator. When the door opened, Lily stood there in a purple dress, her hair in pigtails, her birthmark visible on her left cheek. You're the lawyer lady, Lily said excitedly. The one who looks like me. Emma knelt down to her level. Hi, Lily. My name is Emma. Do you like dinosaurs? Lily asked seriously. Because I love dinosaurs. My favourite is the Triceratops because they have 3 horns and they're plant eaters, but they're still tough. Emma laughed, really laughed, for the first time in days. I think Triceratops are pretty cool too. Lily grabbed Emma's hand and pulled her inside. Come see my room. I have 17 dinosaurs. Well, 16 dinosaurs and 1 is actually a dragon, but I count him anyway because he's scaly. As Emma sat on Lily's bedroom floor, listening to detailed explanations of each dinosaur's temperament and dietary preferences, she felt something shift inside her chest. This little girl, this bright, talkative, dinosaur-obsessed little girl. Family. Sarah appeared in the doorway, smiling through fresh tears at the sight of them together. Later, after Lily had fallen asleep on the couch between them during a movie, Sarah spoke quietly. What are you going to do? About Richard and Margaret? Emma looked down at Lily's sleeping face. So peaceful. So innocent. I don't know, she admitted. They're still my parents. They raised me, loved me, but they also lied to me for 35 years. I can't just forgive that overnight. You don't have to, Sarah said gently. Love and forgiveness don't have timelines. Emma touched Lily's hair softly. I need time, space to figure out who I am when I'm not performing the role they created for me. And us? Sarah asked hesitantly. Can we be part of that journey? Emma looked at her aunt, her family, her connection to Catherine. I'd like that, she said. I'd like that a lot. 3 months later, Emma stood in front of a new apartment in the Mission District. Not a penthouse, not Pacific Heights, something smaller, something that felt like hers. Her phone buzzed. A text from Margaret. Please call when you're ready. We love you. Emma stared at the message. She'd responded to a few texts over the past months. Short, cordial, but distant. Forgiveness would come. Maybe. Eventually. But not today. Another text arrived. This one from Sarah. Lily wants to know if you're coming to her dinosaur birthday. Party on Saturday. She's been practicing saying Cretaceous period all week. Emma smiled and typed back, wouldn't miss it. She walked into her new apartment. The walls were bare except for one thing she'd hung that morning. A drawing. Catherine's drawing. Sarah had found it in a box of her sister's things. A sketch of a mother holding a baby, their matching birthmarks visible on their left cheek. Catherine had drawn it when she was pregnant. Below it, Emma had placed a photo from last week. Her, Sarah, and Lily at the park. 3 generations, 3 birthmarks. 3 women connected by blood, loss, and love. Emma traced the birthmark on her cheek. For 35 years, she'd seen it as just a mark. Something unique, but meaningless. Now she understood. It was a signature. Catherine's signature. written on her skin. Proof that she'd existed. Proof that she'd loved. Proof that some bonds couldn't be broken, even by death. Emma's phone rang. Richard's name appeared on the screen. She stared at it. Let it ring once, twice, 3 times. Then she answered. "Hi, Dad," she said quietly. "Emma." Richard's voice cracked with emotion. "Thank you for answering." "I'm still angry," Emma said. "I'm still hurt, but you're still my father. That's complicated, but it's true." "I know," Richard said. "And I'm sorry. We're both so sorry." "I know you are," Emma replied. "And maybe someday that'll be enough. But not today. Today, I just need you to know I'm okay. I'm finding my way." "That's all we want," Richard said. "For you to be okay." After they hung up, Emma walked to her window. The city stretched out before her. San Francisco, the city where Catherine had died, where Sarah had grieved, where Emma had lived a lie, but also where Emma was finally finding the truth. She touched the birthmark one more time. "Thank you," she whispered, to a mother she'd never known. "Thank you for loving me. Even if it was only for a few minutes, it was enough." Outside, the sun set over the bay, painting the sky in shades of gold and or pink. A new beginning. Not perfect, not simple, but real. And for Emma Martinez, Emma Chen, that was finally enough. If you enjoyed this episode, like, comment, and subscribe for more. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to stay updated. Share the story with friends and join us for more stories.